Perpetuation of Welfare Dependence Through Existing Policies and Programs, by Hugh W. McCorkle. Welfare and poverty. It is common for somebody to be referred to as being in poverty, whereas that same person might be on welfare. Welfare is dependent on poverty, meaning that somebody cannot participate in welfare programs without first living below the poverty line, which I will discuss in the next slide. States. The U.S. Census Bureau determines the poverty level on an annual basis. In 2017, for example, a household consisting of 2 adults and 2 children would meet the poverty level if the total household income fell below $24,858. Any income which meets or exceeds this income, in this example, would mean that the household is not in poverty. As a note, the dollar amount is adjusted for all adults, children, and special circumstances such as household members with disabilities. There is a wide variety of welfare programs available to those who are living at or near the poverty level. For sake of brevity, 3 programs in particular will be discussed: Temporary Assistance for Needy Families or TANF, Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program or SNAP, and the Earned Income Tax Credit or EITC. This program was originally unveiled as the Aid to Dependent Children program in 1935 and was later reorganized into TANF in 1996. To qualify for TANF, a woman and her husband must have a child 18 years of age or under and must develop a plan of self-sufficiency, to include actively seeking employment. Participation limits do not typically exceed 5 years. If you look to the line chart to the right, you can see TANF spending between 1959 and 2017. Aside from a rather sudden dip during the rather prosperous 90s, you can see that spending hasn't seen an overall increase but has lessened gradually in recent years. Spending on TANF peaked in 2003 at approximately $19.4 billion. The advent of SNAP occurred in 1939 when participants who were already receiving government-sponsored welfare benefits could purchase surplus food items with food stamps. This program has seen many changes over the years, and today, participants use an electronic benefits transfer or EBT card to purchase food items at retail stores. In order to qualify for participation in SNAP, individuals must have no to low incomes, and those who are physically able must actively seek or maintain employment. As you can see to the right, the line chart indicates a similar trend to that of the TANF chart, having a sudden dip in the 90s and a reduction in spending in recent years. Spending on SNAP peaked in 2013 at approximately $82.6 billion. Income tax credit began in 1975. The EITC provides relief to the working poor. Administered by the Internal Revenue Service, the EITC provides assistance via a tax credit, thus reducing the amount a participant would owe to the federal government. In some cases, participants will even receive a refund. To qualify for participation, individuals must be employed and receive a low to moderate wage and have a Social Security number. The chart here follows a line distinctive from those representing both the TANF and SNAP charts. As you can see, there is no distinctive dip which occurred in the 90s, and spending does not appear to have decreased similarly as well. Spending on the EITC program peaked at approximately $81.6 billion in 2014. Welfare dependence. Dependence on welfare programs tends to be represented by a number of factors, namely rational choice, economic constraints, cultural adaptation, and intergenerational dependence. The figure here represents the cycle which promotes welfare dependence based on my research. To begin, an individual who receives money from the government via welfare programs which either supplements a low income or comprises their entire income can grow to have a reliance on welfare. This reliance on welfare can lead to a decreased or removed work ethic, as the individual will receive money for having not performed work, thus keeping that person locked in a state in which they rely on welfare. Future considerations. Policymakers would be wise to consider the effectiveness of welfare programs both individually and collectively. As the chart to the right illustrates, there has been little change in the poverty rate since the mid-70s. As the graph here represents, spending on TANF, SNAP, and EITC programs has grown considerably since 1959, and an upward trend has continued through recent years. Total spending on these three programs peaked at roughly $165.3 billion in 2013. F and the EITC both seem to have the highest level of merit in that both the end user or recipient and the taxpayer alike can enjoy some of these programs' offerings. To the end user, recipients will appreciate the assistance available to them should they fall on difficult economic time through TANF, and the EITC incentivizes those participating to maintain employment. For the taxpayer, there may likely be a satisfaction in knowing that his or her tax dollars are contributing towards a greater good through the TANF program, and the EITC dismisses the notion that recipients are happily unemployed. Though welfare programs are well intended in that they provide aid to those who need it, you have seen the considerable expenditures to which taxpayers are responsible for. Though spending on welfare programs has seen considerable increases over the last 40 years, the poverty rate has not decreased significantly, as the percentage of Americans who are living at or below the poverty line has not done more than fluctuate during this period. Policy changes will be necessary in order to reduce the poverty rate, government spending on welfare programs, and unemployment. Thank you for your time in viewing my presentation. If you have any questions or would like any further clarification on the content presented, feel free to let me know on the discussion board or at the email below.